Imagine this. You're 18 years old, your dad just had a heart attack. You and your twin brother are working warehouse shifts and mowing park lawns just to help keep your family afloat. And despite all that, you're watching guys with less money than you quietly buy up rental properties in cash. A janitor, a guy from church. That's when it hit Brandon. It's not about chasing flashy startups. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. Wealth is built by the people willing to get their hands dirty in the business nobody else wants to touch. I'm Ryan Atkinson, and you're listening to the Afloat podcast, where we uncover the secrets of building and running successful businesses. Today, I am so excited to welcome Brandon to the podcast. Brandon owns over 140 rental units, runs multiple laundromats, and pulls thousands a month from vending machines while spending only a few hours a week managing them. I'm super excited to welcome Brandon. Brandon, thank you so much for being here.
How's it going?
Super excited to have you. You were a webinar guest for us about a month ago, and that absolutely crushed it. So excited to talk about boring businesses today. But before we do that, a super important part of your story is your background. Tell us what it was like growing up. I alluded to the intro there, but really tell us about your situation financially growing up and how that shaped your view on money and stability.
Sure. So in my case, born and raised in Southern Ohio, literally grew up in the middle of a cornfield in a little itty bitty rickety tenant house in the middle of said cornfield. Pretty poor lifestyle growing up in the sense that my mom sold cosmetics door to door. My dad was a truck driver who just never made any money. Lived very well below the poverty line through the 80s and 90s. My dad he quit trucking and got a job working stocking shelves at Walmart, which was actually an upgrade for our family. Trucking just was not good for my dad. Got to the point that I was 18 years old. I do have a twin brother for reference. Dad had a heart attack. He couldn't work anymore at Walmart. My brother and I had to go out and get jobs. I ended up working at a warehouse, stuffing boxes for outbound online orders. And my brother picked up trash for the city of Circleville, Ohio. Had to do that so that we wouldn't lose our house. But after it's all said and done, we got evicted twice, actually, while I was growing up. So just not a very wealthy lifestyle. Loved my parents dearly, but money was not something that we've had a ton of growing up. Worked at the warehouse for about 3 years. Was like, it'd be nice to have a family, want to get married someday, want to do the traditional lifestyle stuff, but I don't have a college degree. That was just never in the cards for me when I was 18, working at a house, trying to make sure that mom and dad's rent was being paid on time. So the situation was like, I looked at my community, what can I get into that doesn't require a college education? The only thing that I found that was visible to me was real estate. So I put a real estate school on a credit card, went and took my classes, got my real estate license. Did that for quite some time, but very early on, it became apparent to me that the real estate agents were just generally in my area up to their eyeballs in debt. They drove nice cars, all the agents had Cadillacs and they wore nice clothes, but a lot of them were in debt or they were working 14, 16 hours a day. And we're talking 2006. So it's right as the point that the bubble in the mortgage world is starting to bust. And I did that for quite some time, but I ran into these people they're not well educated, but they had tons of money and they had done it through investing, primarily in real estate. I met a truck driver who was very similar to my dad. His name was Joe. He drove trucks for General Motors, which is a pretty big company if you're in a Rust Belt state like me. And he had tons of money. He came to my office, wanted to buy some more rental properties to flip. And we're talking 2007 at that point. So the mortgage crisis is upon us. I'm thinking this guy's crazy. And he says, well, I just need to make a little more money than I'm getting in the stock market now. He flips houses. He shows me very clearly he has $500,000 cash sitting in a bank account. Blows my mind. Like, you're a truck driver. You don't have any money, because my dad never had any money. Ran into a janitor for Nationwide Children's Hospital. His name was Bill. He had flipped some houses up in Columbus near Nationwide Children's Hospital in his spare time. Came to the realization at that point, it's like, I got to be in investment. I can't just be selling houses for other people. I need to be in the driver's seat because I just was not meeting any poor landlords. Fast forward a few years, I start coming to the realization I need to learn to pitch people on investment. Proceed to do so. Bought my first rental property in 2013. It was a HUD foreclosure. Bought it for $23,000. Put $27,000 fixing it up, which at that time, still a cheap property at $50,000 all in. Rented it for $1,000 a month. It's still rented as of today. And that's 2013. So that's 12 years ago at this point. Bought 2 properties in 2013. The next year, 2014, I bought another 5 or 6. Year after that, I bought a dozen more. Just started getting to the point I was just buying properties left and right. Ended up 2019 with 140. Decided to get into business, but let's buy some more things because the world of rentals is getting a little boring. Ended up buying the laundromat that I'm well known for on social media, fixed it up. It was only making a couple $1,000s a month. Now we're in the point we'll be doing probably a little over 100,000 this year just on my laundromat. I've gone ahead. I've bought multiple other businesses, car washes, self-storage. I bought a commercial roofing firm in another state. I own my hometown newspaper. We took that digital 4 years ago, about 5 years ago. So I'm just in a little bit of everything, jack of all trades, master of none. Done a lot of it with essentially creative finance because like I never had any money growing up, nor did I know anybody growing up that had money. And I've just become very good at pitching people on investment. And I've become very good at figuring out how to structure deals in creative ways, so much so that I don't have to throw a ton of money into them. So that's kind of like my whole story in a nutshell in the quickest fashion.
You really do have your hand in everything. I want to talk specifically today. We're going to talk about like the boring business aspect. That's the upflip wheelhouse, the boring businesses. Why do you think boring businesses are so overlooked compared to like digital companies? Like I have a video marketing agency. That's a sexy business that you can kind of call, I guess. Or like, yeah, why do you think boring businesses are just generally overlooked by people?
From my standpoint, they don't get much attention online. I recently did an interview with a very large group of people, and they hated what I had to say to them. And as I had a conversation with them, they all wanted to know from me how to make money doing digital marketing, doing search engine optimization, doing faceless YouTube channels, all these different things. I said, why are you so opposed to going out and doing any of these businesses that I'm pushing you into? And they said, well, they all sound like a lot of work. And I said, you understand that you're competing with, when you're building a faceless YouTube channel, you're competing with 1 billion other people on YouTube. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you're competing with a lot of other people out there. Meanwhile, you could go to your town, I don't care where you live, and you could get into, let's say, laundromats. And in your town, you might be competing with 5 or 6 other people. I know that if I built a laundromat where I'm physically sitting doing this interview today, I would compete with 2 other people. If I would go one town south where my laundromat is, I compete with 4 other people. Maybe it's the way that my mind works. I want less competition and not more competition. And a lot of people, I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where they think they know more about something than they actually do. And I talk to people about, web design or online marketing or whatever it is. I ask them, do you understand how good you need to be in that top threshold that makes money doing online sales or whatever it is? And they say, well, I think I can do it. I said, you need to be in the top 5% or top 2% on YouTube to make really good money off of it. And you're competing with 1 billion other people. So you're competing with over 900 million other people out there. And you have to be better than every single one of them below that peer group. And I talk to people and, some people, once they come to the realization that they need to be really, really, really good to make a lot of money, some of them get that spark and they come to the realization that it would be better to own a local landscaping company, or it would be better to have a vending machine route, or it would be more advantageous to own a restaurant, or one of 1,000 different things where they're not competing with everybody else and their brother.
Most people spend months, sometimes years, just thinking about starting a business. But what if you could do it in just 10 days? That's exactly what the 10-day business launch plan is designed for. It's a step-by-step roadmap that takes you from idea to real operational business in just 10 days. Click the link in the description below and get ready with your business.
I've actually never asked this on the Upflip podcast, so you're getting this for the first time, and the listeners are hearing this for the first time. Before I do that, a quick caveat. I was literally texting someone. He's a 22-year-old post-grad, and he's very entrepreneurial. He's like, oh, man, I have so many ideas. Yesterday, he's like, hey, I got to run this e-commerce business by you. I literally texted him, like, dude, like, you got to just consider some of these boring businesses. It's such a great way for someone to stand out. To your point, though, the competition aspect. So what I heard there is where you're at right now, there's 2 other laundromats, I believe it was. If you open a laundromat in a location like that, is that enough money for someone to live a good life off of? Or is the power of this having multiple laundromats where you're stacking, whatever, this is just a number, $100 in profit every month. It's obviously way more than that, but for simple numbers.
So I'm looking at doing a new series on building a laundromat from the ground up. I've identified a geographic locality where they need more laundromats than they are. They don't have enough good laundromats. They're all terrible trash locations. And I'm looking at going in with one of my subscribers and building a brand new laundromat from the ground up, essentially. We'll probably rent space in a commercial facility rather than just build the whole structure up. But ground up, all the machines, all the plumbing, all the electrical. After it's all said and done, to get all the equipment in, get everything done, it's going to be $500,000. But when I look at this market and we do all of our validation on it, I believe that I can generate between $300,000 and $350,000 per year in revenue. The rule of thumb in a laundromat, once you include labor, cleaning, all of the ancillary costs, 50% of that is going to be your margin. So let's say we hit the 350, half of that's going to be net income. So we're looking at 175,000 a year in net income for one laundromat location. And we're not talking about going to a city. Like I live outside Columbus, Ohio, or Cincinnati, Ohio, or Cleveland, Ohio, and you just find a location that doesn't have a laundromat within 30 miles of it. There are places out there where a laundromat can truly print money. A friend of mine, his name's Mark. He's down in Austin, Texas. He just sold his laundromat to private equity. There you go. He sold his laundromat to private equity because he was doing $3 million a year off one laundromat location.
That's insane.
$3 million a year, because he had become, we talk about being the best in an area, being the best. Mark became the best in Central Texas at running a laundromat, and it got the attention of everybody and their brother that has money in the laundromat industry, and he got acquired. He had a second laundromat he had just built out in Houston doing $2 million plus a year. 2 laundromats, $5 million a year. That's kind of like what the higher level looks like when you run 2 locations really, really, really well. And he wasn't near downtown either, because I visited his laundromat because I did a YouTube video on him 2 years ago. I went and took a look at it. Not much has changed. He still has the same lady working for him. We interviewed her 2 years ago on YouTube, and I did a little quick short with her. But that's what the top echelon looks like. Now, I've got a person I'm very close to. They're in the e-commerce world, and they are making millions at this point on e-commerce. And I'm not the guy that says, oh, boring businesses are the only way that you can make money online. But I can tell you, I intimately know this person's e-com business. They run a YouTube channel. They have phenomenal amounts of traffic. They have a Shopify page. They are the best at Shopify. They're best at cart abandonment. They're best at writing email campaigns. They're best at logistics. They're best at order fulfillment. They're best at product creation. Like, I run 8 different businesses and I wear 8 different hats. And this other individual wears 8 separate hats in one business. And ultimately, at the end of the day, my commercial roofing firm will make 4, 5, 6 times more money than he ever will. And it's because we are rapidly becoming the best in the construction industry in our specific trade. And, his upper echelon that he can make being the king of Shopify for XYZ products is only so far. Now he's doing it all digitally and things like that. But for me, it's, I got to hop on a plane. I got to go visit Chicago once a month, whatever that takes to run that more boring business than a Shopify e-commerce platform. And he is competing with everybody. And I'm competing with, on my laundromat, I'm competing with 4 other people. With my car wash, I'm competing with 6 other people. With my commercial roofing firm in the Rockford region, I'm competing with 4 other people. In the greater Chicago region, 3rd largest market in America, I am competing with 25 other people. You think about that. $1 billion worth of opportunity in one specific skilled trade in the greater Chicago region. $1 billion a year, and there's only 25 reasonably sized players in the whole entire market. And the top one gets around, from my understanding, $100 to $150 million a year of that $1 billion. So they capture between 10 and 15% of the market. Second players, $50 to $75 million. So that's what the top player in a market looks like in a boring business. And it's one of those things where you look at what all does it take to have the high skill set. To me, it's something you can learn. I didn't know anything about laundromats. I didn't know anything about car washes.
I want to ask, that was leading my next question, geographically. Obviously, you don't have to give the whole playbook of where you're looking at investing. I'm not asking you to do that. I will respect your privacy enough there and your business opportunities. But geographically, what are some green flags to look for? Just for listeners, because obviously, you're hearing these numbers, you can control 15% of a Chicago market and make however much money. Geographic green flags, what do you look for?
Let's take the average laundromat and figure out what the average laundromat, what does it need to look like? The average laundromat brings in around $150,000 a year. Half of that's net. So the average laundromat's bringing in net $75K a year off that $150 gross. It's in a town or it's in an area of less than 7,500 people in that geographic range. And 35% of the people in that geographic range are in a rental property. So laundromats pull on non-owner occupied rentals, and they typically pull from very well-defined geographic regions because the average customer is willing to travel less than 1 mile to go to a laundromat. So based on those numbers, you can kind of engineer what will you do. So I'm looking at an area, there's 15 to 16,000 people that need a laundromat and they can't really access a clean, safe, and affordable one. So I will be doing more than double that statistic. It's also in an area with higher rental base. So that's why when I target 3 to 350, I'm pretty sure that we can do it so long as we can bring that into the market. Car washes kind of have a similar metric, although you have a higher pull on people driving through the area. So you look at 0.5% to 1% of the people that drive on the road that you have access to. 10,000 cars a day, 1% of that's 100 cars a day. 0.5% of that's 50 cars a day. You also have to look at competition. All of these things you can get on the internet and you can research how to vet your local demographics. And those are the kinds of things that you have to build a skill set up to do well. But from my standpoint, that's a lot easier than other kinds of businesses that are out there. You know, I don't know any of the metrics about, like, let's say landscaping, which is a business I'd love to be in someday. Love to own a landscaping company. But it is a situation where you have to be able to do the research and look at your marketplace where, vetting those opportunities. But what you realize pretty quickly is there's not a lot of competitors.
You do like a laundromat landscaping. This isn't like a very low barrier to entry. Like you have to have some sort of equity or some sort of merit to start it. A question that I want to ask what you're going off of is like, what are those resources that people can find? Is it a ChatGPT deep research? Is there a specific website to do this research on? Would love to shortcut that for people.
So ChatGPT is good. I like it. The demographic data has been reasonably accurate. I would say ask ChatGPT, pull a demographic study with the primary characteristics in an area being population within a mile, how many renters are there, and then give me the validation tools that you use to determine these numbers. Some of them are definitely, going to be erroneous. Anymore, I do ChatGPT plus Grok to see if the answers coincide with each other because they both use different models. But if you look at, 150,000 a year for 7,500 people with a 30 to 35% renter demographic, you can kind of start looking at areas where there may or may not be reasonable laundromats. But I also don't want people to think that it's just endless opportunity and they're easy to do, because I do run into people every so often. You talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. They say, well, I'm going to buy a laundromat here. Well, there's a laundromat 1 block away that someone has sunk $1 million into. Don't buy that laundromat. Well, I could be better than they are. How can you be better than they are? They've already put $1 million in it and they're doing a good job. You go on Google business rankings and they're at a 4.5. The store you want to buy or build out is, a 2.5. You do have to be able to pick your battles and realize your own skill set. But the thing I find out is there's so much opportunity out there because you could just go to a different location. Once again, the average laundromat, $75,000 a year is hanging in the balance of net income that you could be putting in your pocket or you could be doing something with. To me, growing up, the idea of owning a business that would make me money while I was not physically there was just unheard of. We had some family off in the distance that had certificates of deposits, CDs, and they were getting 5% a year off of $100,000. And I was like, that's nothing. You're locking your money up for a year with a bank for $5,000 extra dollars? That doesn't make any sense. But meanwhile, with my businesses, the laundromats net this year's, we'll do 105, 110, half's net. It's 55 to 60,000 this year in net income. That's nice. Roofing company is 3 states away. 3 states away. I can't be there and manage it. My goal next year is to collect a $1 or $2 million distribution check off the company. There's opportunities out there where your time effort is not exactly coinciding with what your compensation is going to be if the business is running jobs, if it's generating income. And I think that that's the appeal of people online with digital marketing agencies, faceless YouTube videos, e-commerce platforms, drop shipping, white labeling. whatever that list of things are. That's where the appeal is. But it's also, well, 1 mile from where I'm sitting right now, there's a McDonald's. The owner visits the McDonald's less than once a month. He owns a dozen of them. And that McDonald's on North Court Street here in Circleville will generate for them $500,000 in net income this year. And it's like, well, he owns a dozen of them. Yeah, he does make $6 million a year minimum. He might own some more restaurants other than McDonald's. And I know a lot of people dream about owning McDonald's. They're very expensive, but you can get to a point in life where you have a smaller scale version of that. Look at, my vending machines. They'll generate some level of income. I won't go through and pull all my quarters this Friday and shoot a YouTube video. I did a collection here and I took in over $100 worth of quarters. And I'm telling you, my time involvement was 10 hours over the last month and a half on those machines. $200 an hour. Doing some vending machines. It's really nice. Really nice.
Super nice there. Obviously, you have so many businesses, but we are such in a deep thread of like the laundromat. So I do want to stay within there. And if listeners are interested in your whole background, like I would definitely encourage them to go check you out. We'll have those links down below and we'll also plug at the end here. For the laundromat as well, though, I mean, we've talked a lot about the good, the geographics, lower competition. If someone wanted to, make an investment in a laundromat, what makes a bad investment when it comes specifically to laundromats? And like, how can people avoid getting burned by that?
So I would say the worst problem, because I've done coaching and training and a lot of working with people in laundromats. Someone asked me this question, just 2 hours ago. And I said, the worst thing that I run into is people that they look at these businesses and they immediately look at them and they say there's no work involved. And the problem is there's plenty of work involved, but it's almost all front end loaded. You look at, I had the story about the $2,000 or the 100 pounds of quarters from the vending machines. Like, yeah, it's 10 hours, $200 an hour, but there's a lot of time that I spent 4 years ago building a system and a process up to make sure that everything worked right. If I was the guy that did 100% of the labor and 100% of the work on them, my income from those, my income per hour, it's probably like $35 to $40 an hour, because then I would be stocking them. I'd be doing all the servicing. I would be doing the filling. I'd be running to Sam's Club to get them. And a laundromat's that same way, just a bigger thing. Well, who's cleaning the laundromat? Who's maintaining the machines? Who's opening the store up? Who is dealing with customer complaints? Like, there's a whole list of things that have to happen in the business for it to operate relatively hands-off, or at least to the point that all I do is go in, I'm there for 45 minutes. I shoot a YouTube video, some TikToks, and then I leave. That required a lot of front-end loading on getting the process set up. Same deal with my car washes, same deal with my roofing company, newspaper, whatever it is, self-storage. They all require some level of work, but it is a situation where that work was deployed early. We built a system, and then I've been able to step away and just manage my management portion very well. The worst kind of situation I've run into, and I've ran into somebody last week. We talked about Mark's laundromat in Austin. I ran into somebody else that's run their laundromat into the ground, kind of looking at buying it maybe, because I've got people down in Texas that want a laundromat. I went to this laundromat and everything that could be wrong with the laundromat was wrong with it. And, I've had interactions with this person, and you sit down and you talk to them, which I have in the past. They don't want to do any work. They thought they could buy a laundromat and just get checks without getting any of the processes or systems set up. And I'm like, dude, why'd you do this?
What type of processes and systems are you like specifically talking about here? Because you kind of highlight that, because I want the listeners to know, like, if you are going to do a laundromat, like you need to get these processes and systems right.
My recommendation, this will be business agnostic. Go step in that business or interact with the business and write down every aspect of what it took to get you to buy the product and who did it. Okay, well, you're going in the laundromat. Who opened the doors? You're going to the change machine to get some quarters out. Who services that machine? Because someone has to put money in it. Who made sure the machine is working? You go over to the vending machine to buy soap. Who stocks the vending machine? You get your soap out. You go take it over to a washer. You throw some sample clothes in it. They've been sitting in your car for 2 weeks. You throw some clothes in it. You press the on button. Who made sure that the bills were being paid? Who made sure that the water was working in there? Who made sure the machine is running? Who made sure that if the machine breaks down, someone puts an out of service sticker on it? You go to the bathroom at some point while you're at the laundromat. Who cleaned that bathroom? Who cleaned the floors? Who closes it down at night? All of these things are different interactions. And I'm not saying they all have to be different people, but what happens is I run into a lot of people and they don't think about those things that go on behind the scenes. I've run into plenty of people who unfortunately have said, well, someone will figure it out. Well, no, somebody has to figure out who's going to do that role's you. That's how you can buy a laundromat and make a ton of money in it. And there's a lot of owners that have not got any better at the laundromat game in 30 years. And that's why, for me, these boring businesses are so lucrative. We talk about the upcoming silver tsunami of these aging baby boomers that are retiring and getting rid of their businesses. They haven't upgraded their business process in 30 years, which means there's a lot of opportunity, but you have to be the one to upgrade it.
So good. It sounds like, yeah, it is a lot of like high, like front end work to like put those systems in place. And that's kind of how I'm digesting. It's like 3 quick takeaways of me so far has been like, it's a lower competition, the geographic range is super good. And then a lot of like front end work with this. I want to ask like personally, so like, I know you give those geographic reasons, but where I'm at personally, I mean, I want your synopsis on this. I'm getting free advice from you, Brandon, so I apologize. I'm in a 7,500 person town, 7,500 to 10,000 person town. There's one laundromat where I'm at. What would you say? Would you say go buy that one, go compete with it?
Go talk to the owner. If it is a crap fest, then you could compete with it, and you're ultimately going to have to be okay with putting them out of business. In a location of 7,500 people, there's only really enough room for one. Can you partner with them? There's a lot of owners that are out there that are ready to give up, and they would hand you the keys happily just for you to take it over. If you don't have the experience base to build up the laundromat, I'd go talk to them and say, hey, I'm interested in getting into the laundromat business. How can I help you out? Because you do need some level of hands-on training, even if it's just a standpoint of to see what not to do. You need to look at somebody to see what not to do. So I'm always encouraging people to go out there and volunteer to work at your local laundromat or car wash or landscaping company. No one will say no to free labor. Everybody hears online how no one wants to work anymore. And it is hard to get good, competent labor. But man, someone shows up to your business, say, hey, I want to intern here for you for free and just help you out so I can learn how I can do this thing in the future. You'll be hard pressed to ever get a no. But, I want to look at the opportunity. And then you have to make, if you're in a place that only has one laundromat, it's not a good fit for your 7,500 people. Was there a town somewhere else that might be? Are you the kind of person that's willing to drive an hour once a week to go spend 2 hours at the location for an extra 75,000 a year? Are you that kind of person? Well, I know for me, if I have to spend, let's say 10 hours a week for an extra 75,000 a year, that's a lot of money. I would do that. And people have to be okay and be comfortable with that time investment to do it. And, there could be or should be at a point where you're not having to spend that time. My laundromat, I'm down to, including drive time, 3 hours a week. 2 car washes, I spend 3 hours a week for 2 locations. They make way more money than my laundromat does. So it's like an hour and a half per car wash. I have a self-storage facility that I never talk about because it's ridiculously boring. We're doing probably $1,500 to $1,750 a month net. I could not tell you the last time I was more than there. I was there longer than 30 minutes. I do no effort whatsoever in my storage facility, and it brings you an extra $20,000 a year. Good money for no effort. And there's just a lot of things like that once you build up the system and the process.
Yeah, Brandon. So one thing that I've loved reading between the lines, and listeners, I hope you've kind of gathered this as well. 3 or 4 instances so far, you've talked about your time in per hour and how much you make per hour. Last question before we go to our flan, but why is that the right mindset people need to have when approaching like acquiring a boring business? I love this mindset. I first heard from like Naval Ravikant, phenomenal guy, but yeah, talking about that.
I've probably coached 500 to 600 people directly, like one-on-one, having this conversation over Zoom, Google Meet, in person, direct talking to them. And to me, it's off-putting, but then I also want to break through with it. And I say, once you go and close on your laundromat, I need you to go in. And I always tell people, I want you to spend 8 hours a day, if possible, for the first week, just so you can know your customer base. You can spend time there and you can really see what it takes to get that business. I've run into hundreds of people, like out of the 500 to 600 people, probably half of them have said, well, why would I want to do that? I don't want to buy a boring business that I have to work in there. And I say, do you understand the opportunity that's looking you in the face right now of how much money you're going to make? And they're like, well, it's 75,000 a year, but it's a lot of work you're asking me to do for the 75,000 a year. Because, the dream is the 2 or 3 hours a week running the business, but there's a lot of front end work that you're going to have to do. And I've said, do you understand what's the value for this business over the next 10 years of your life? Once you implement the processes, and it's mostly hands-on, $75,000 a year, that's $750,000 over the next 10 years. Well, what about appreciation in the business? If real estate's included in the sale, the appreciation on the real estate's going to be worth more than the business probably is at the end of 10 years because you're leveraging yourself into getting the loan. What about the increase of your prices over the next 10 years? Yes, your costs are going to go up, but so's your revenue. If you take a loan out for it, your cost of debt, your debt service isn't going to go up unless you've got some crazy adjustable rate loan. It's going to most likely stay static and you're going to inflate your way out of it. I've talked to people. I said, your average laundromat opportunity over the next 10 years is going to be worth more than $1 million. But let's look at that. I really enjoy Excel spreadsheets. And I've added the opportunity up and I've said, let's look at the front end and the back end hours, the time that you spend to get it up to snuff and the time that you're kind of free riding, you're not have to spend all this time. How much an hour is it worth? And I've sat down with a lot of people. We've gone over their demographic study. We've gone over their marketplace. We've gone over whether they should expect to get real estate with a deal or not. And I've sat down with people and I've said, the amount of money that you're going to make over the next 10 years is averaging out at $1,500 an hour. Are you telling me that you're too good for $1,500 an hour? Because I'm not. Like I will get down, I will clean a sewage tank for $1,500 an hour. Like there's a lot that I would do for $1,500 an hour, but you're not willing to go and set foot in a dirty laundromat for $1,500 an hour once all of the opportunities calculated out. And it's like, I've had people that have said, I can't believe you went out to your car wash at 2:00 in the morning to make sure the plumber did the right job. And I'm like, I've sat down there and I've quantified my opportunity with my car washes. My car washes, the 10-year opportunity there is probably closer to $2,000 an hour. And when I'm tired and I don't feel like doing something, I think of that $2,000 an hour. It's like, okay, yeah, is this worth $2,000 an hour? Heck yes, it is. Now, you can't get into the point that and I struggle with this on the other side of, well, I want to do everything because I can do everything. There are plenty of points where you have to make sure that operational system is running efficiently and other people are fulfilling their role so you can hit that revenue number. But there will be plenty of times where the buck stops with you and you have to go out and get it done.
Brandon, this has been so amazing. And listeners, I would encourage you to go check out all of Brandon's content that he has on YouTube. And we're going to plug it here in a sec. But before we do that, let's jump to our Fan Blitz questions. These are questions submitted from our community. And listeners, if you want to join in on these conversations, get your voices heard, go to www.youtube.com/upflip and submit your questions there. But Brandon, ready for our last 5 questions here?
Sure.
Number 1, what's one boring business someone could start this weekend with $500 or less?
Small engine repair. I'm very big on small engine repair. I've run into very few markets in the United States, at least, and most parts of Canada, where there isn't a huge need for small engine repair. And even if you're in a rural location, you could still make $35 to $50 an hour. Realistically, you can start it for free. You don't even need $500. Go put some Facebook ads out there, watch some YouTube videos, learn to fix the car. Most gas-powered things, they have carburetors on them. People put ethanol gas in them. It gums the carb up. It's a $10 fix. You can charge probably $100 per item. It'll take you 15, 20 minutes to watch a YouTube video and replace a carb on it. I've done several live streams and then mentioned that, had people come back the next week and they're like, I made $1,000 between last week and this week by doing exactly that. I'm very big on that. That is probably the easiest opportunity most of America and most of Metro Canada right now. Small engine repair, I'm very big on. The other one would be appliance flipping. My brother got his start in his appliance business. He would just drive a truck around on Fridays and Saturdays and look for junk appliances. He'd pick up stoves, washers, dryers. Most of the time they needed $25. He'd relist them on Facebook Marketplace. He'd take a $25 door latch or a heating element and he would resell it on Facebook Marketplace for $150, $250.
Number 2, what's the number 1 skill that helped you scale boring businesses fast?
Learning to manage people. If you can't manage other people to do your work, you're going to be in big trouble.
Number 3, what's one mistake you made early on that you'd never repeat?
I was really bad at accounting and managing financial reports. I've got a lot better on that, especially once I got into real estate. I could have been a millionaire by the time I was 18 when my dad had his heart attack. So learning spreadsheets and accounting, huge benefit.
I like it. Number 4, what's a common myth about boring businesses that you wish more people understood?
That they can make a ton of money.
I like it. Number 5, if you had to pass one mindset down to your kids about money, what would it be?
Money makes a good servant, but a terrible master.
I like it. Super good. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. A ton of great takeaways here. So if you guys are looking to start a laundromat, I would 100% recommend replaying this episode. But Brandon, where can people find you if they want to ask you more questions about laundromats, vending machines, real estate, car washes, everything that you do?
All my social media profiles are at Investment Joy, one word. If you do 2 words, probably you'll find me. Otherwise, if you need to communicate with me, check out investmentjoy.com, fill out the form. It just asks you some questions about who you are and how I can help you, whether you want to start a business or you want to partner with me on one of my next investments. I'd love to have you on board.
Listeners, that was an amazing episode with Brandon. 3 quick takeaways for you. Number 1, while he loves boring businesses and why I love boring businesses is because of the lower competition. I think this is a great opportunity for someone that's looking to start their very first company. Lower competition, super helpful. Number 2, the geographic range that he gave was amazing. So I definitely encourage you to go back, rewind that, park the car, do what you need to do. Just go get that geographic range. Super good. Number 3, this is a lot of front end work. But once all the processes and systems are set up, it is a lot of hands-on. He gave some examples of only working 1 hour a week, 1 hour every 3 weeks. So a lot of front end work to make this hands off, but absolutely love talking about these business ideas. And Brandon was the great guest to do that. So if you guys are enjoying this conversation, please give us a like, give us a thumbs up wherever you're listening to this podcast. It helps us get more amazing guests like Brandon on the show. And if you're feeling really helpful, just give us a review as well. We'll see you guys next week on our next episode. Brandon, thank you so much for your time today.
Cool. Thanks.